What happened between Sheila and Mike in Tyler Perry's 2007 film, Why Did I Get Married, instantly made Mike the most hated character in the franchise.
There's no way that you can see everything that Sheila goes through and not have your own heartbreak moments with her. Her story reminds us that courage is required to overcome the worst of circumstances. So join us for this full and detailed breakdown of Mike and Sheila's story. Just to let you guys know, we do have over 20 videos linked in the playlist in the description on the Why Did I Get Married franchise. And we are just excited. Well, at least I'm excited. Heit is tolerating it. The release of the Why Did I Get Married Again movie that's coming out in September 2026. If it's after that point, we already have started our videos on that movie and our breakdowns and stuff. So be sure to check the playlist because it'll be updated as we have new videos, that come along.
We are the foremost experts on Why Did I Get Married, besides Tyler Perry. We are.
I feel like we have done so many of the what ifs and the questions and answers and speculations.
We've done more than anybody. And if there is anybody who done more, please let us know. I definitely would like to know.
And these are like 1 and 2 hour videos on, we have the full breakdown of the movie, but then we go into, hey, what if Troy and Trina had stayed together? What if, we have every possible scenario that's out there. And I've really thoroughly enjoyed discussing these videos and discussing this movie. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I still think about the characters. And, rarely is there a film for me that I feel as attached to. And you can say whatever you want to say about Tyler Perry, but to me, with the original Why Did I Get Married, he hit the ball out of the park. And we did, by the way, break down the trailer for Why Did I Get Married Again, because, we don't have a movie yet, but if we broke down the trailer. So you can feel free to take a look at our video on that, which is also in that playlist. But when I think overall of Mike and Sheila, I just think about cruelty, That's really all I think about.
Yeah. So from the very beginning, off rip, Mike is just put out there like he's the most terrible person in the world. The first thing he's doing is some elf nigga shit.
It's just horrible. And it's just like, how could a human being be this mean to somebody else? And let alone someone who they're supposed to love. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So we are going to go back, take you back in time and break their story down. That's Mike and Sheila's story, and break that all the way down.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber.
All right, well, this is a book based on a study I did with my friends, with their consent, of course.
As the movie opens, we see Patricia, who is a doctor, and she has this retreat with her friends, these 4 couples, including herself and her husband, that have a couples retreat where they focus on the question of why did I get married? And so at the beginning of the movie, that's who we're introduced to, is her lecturing her students about this particular book that she's written and the whole idea about this study that she's doing involving her couple friends.
Dr. Agnew, I was so worried about the Sheila and Mike characters. Are they still married? Or?
When they get to Sheila and Mike's introduction, one of the students is like, I'm worried about them. And are they still married? Are they happy?
Okay, but are they happy?
Patricia's response is weird to me. She's like, I don't talk about my friends.
I really don't like to discuss my friends.
The whole thing is about your friends. What do you mean you don't talk
and
about
everything? You did a Harper move.
Yeah, Harper from The Best Man. Like, you wrote about your friends in a book, except this wasn't fiction. This is a study or whatever. So I thought it was weird. You told all of their business, but in the study, in the book. But then when somebody's asking about, what the outcome was, you're like, I can't go into that. So,
and that's probably a clue that the outcome isn't good.
Exactly. But we are first introduced to Sheila and Mike at this point in the movie.
All that stress on your job. You said it. You need a vacation.
When we first see Mike and Sheila, they are on the plane with Sheila's friend, Trina. And so they take their seats. The first thing that happens is that Mike and Sheila are not sitting next to each other.
Why don't you sit over here by your husband?
No. You sit right there, all right? We got assigned seating for a reason.
Mike is sitting next to Trina, and then Sheila is seated in front of them, right?
Yeah, Mike is talking about we got assigned seating for a reason. What assigned seating is, you have 3 tickets. So then you amongst your group can decide who sits where with those 3 tickets.
Yeah, but of course he wanted to sit next to Trina. And I'm like, this is just weird. Like, who bought the tickets? Who, how does this go? And then the fact that Sheila seems so weird and clueless. But all the while Sheila's getting on the plane, she's talking about, girl, your job is hard. You needed a vacation, and all of this and that. And then she's talking about maybe it's some single men I could hook you up with.
There might be some nice single men I could introduce you up in those mountains, girl.
And Trina is giving clues. She's just like, well, I'm happy like I am. Basically, don't be trying to hook me up with no dudes. And of course, we'll find out why she doesn't want to get hooked up as the movie progresses. The next thing that happens is we see this flight attendant come over, and basically, long story short, he tells Sheila she is going to have to purchase an extra seat or basically leave the plane because she's too big.
I have a very full flight today. Someone your size has to buy 2 seats.
And then what happens after this is her husband is completely unsympathetic.
I've been telling that big ass to lose weight for months now.
They're trying to figure out what they'll do. He's like, don't look at me. I ain't buying no extra ticket or whatever like that.
I'm going to give up my seat, okay? I just won't go.
No. What good is that going to do? Then I'll be uncomfortable.
And then he's like, why don't you take the bus? Then he's like, you know what? Why don't you drive?
Take the bus. That's it. Drive. There you go. I pay for the gas. And get the money back for that ticket, too.
So she's supposed to drive from wherever they live all the way up a mountain in Colorado, I think is where they're going, and do this alone. Now, Trina does try to be a semi-decent friend, because Trina is like, well, I could go with you. And he's like, nah, let her go by herself. We gonna fly.
Semi-decent.
I say semi-decent because, she is a snake. But she tries to at least pretend to want to do a friendly thing and go with her friend. And this is the question that, we have in the first place is like, why would you sit there with this man, with this woman's husband, not just this man, this woman's husband, you gonna fly with him and she's gonna drive because she supposedly is too big and can't get a ticket. And he won't purchase an extra ticket. As many of you know, changes on this platform have pushed us toward a more viewer-funded model. So if you'd like to help to keep the channel going, there are a few easy ways to support us. You can become a member and unlock over 100 exclusive videos, plus additional member perks. You can also become an executive producer or co-executive producer on an upcoming video through our Deep Dive on Demand, starting at just $10, which gets your name on the screen and a shout out during the video, or you can pick up some merch to represent the community. And don't forget to join our mailing list so you never miss a video across any of our channels. Also, if you're looking for something to watch after this video, be sure to check out our bedtime binge playlist that's linked below. It's full of videos you may have missed. You'll find links to all of these options in the description. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for being here. And thanks for helping keep these deep dives coming. So the other thing that we understand about the dynamic between Mike and Sheila is that Sheila doesn't apparently make money because the money is flowing through him. So he's like, I'm not buying another ticket.
Yeah.
So,
she doesn't have a card or nothing, a checkbook, because he has to pull out cash to give to her. But then he gives her the task of getting the money back for the the plane ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But all this time, Sheila didn't say anything except when it came all the way down to the end where she's about to get off. And she says, I'll see you guys up there.
I'll see you guys up there.
See you when we see you.
Yeah. And he like, yeah, I see you. And she doesn't even really she seems a little bit more embarrassed by what happened with with this seating situation than having her eye on the radar of what's going on with her husband and this woman and what's wrong with this situation. Because trust and believe, I think ladies, comment. What if your husband had done that to you? It would be like, oh, we ain't even going on a trip. You ain't got to worry about a retreat because I'm not getting off this plane without you. We doing whatever we do together. So this whole dynamic, and I will say, you got to have a little bit of empathy for Sheila, because if he's been acting this way the whole time, then, she is really kind of abused.
How long has she been this size?
We really don't know.
Because
right?
he said, I've been telling her big ass to lose weight for months now. So I don't know what that statement means.
Mm-hmm.
If she was this size and then you didn't say nothing for her however long, and then it's only been months, or has she just gotten this big after, a while, and then it's only been an issue for him these past months? I don't know about that phrase at all.
And we can't forget about the person who was going to be seated next to her, who didn't want to sit next to a, quote, bigger person, who, went and complained. And that's the whole reason that the flight attendant comes up to her in the first place to tell her, like, you got to purchase an extra ticket or whatever. Because this guy was looking like, and she's seated in the middle seat, and so he doesn't want to be uncomfortable. And this can be a touchy subject as well. And I want to go take you guys back, because I don't know what they're doing in the airlines today. But this was the first time around 2007 or close to this time period when they rolled out this idea of a, quote, customer of size. And the first airlines that I remember, and I believe is the first one who had a policy such as this, was Southwest Airlines. What they call a customer of size. So basically, they say customers who encroach upon any part of the neighboring seats may proactively purchase the number of seats that you need prior to travel. And basically, the armrest is the boundary. So they're like, if your body doesn't fit in between the armrests, then
that's stupid.
You got to purchase a second ticket.
People use armrests.
Yeah. And also,
it makes zero sense.
And also the fact that it's subjective, right? Because everybody's body is not shaped the same. Some people are taller and bigger. Some people are shorter and bigger. Some people might be wider at the top, wider at the bottom, and so it is a very subjective and touchy policy. And I remember a lot of people having an issue with, with that at the time. When it came out. And at the time when it came out, I had a corporate job and I was flying back and forth. And although I, looking back, did not qualify for like a customer of size policy, it would make me paranoid because, I'm not like a small woman. So it would make me paranoid that somebody's going to come up and tap me on the shoulder at any point, and be
and
like,
then say what this dude said.
Yeah.
This dude, he was just like, oh, the plane's full. What, bro? Is that how he trained them?
Yeah, I mean, but it's hard because I don't think they really did actually train them about how to sensitively discuss this subject at the time. So it's just a mess. But they also, say that if you don't want to purchase an additional seat in advance, this is Southwest policy, by the way, you have the option of purchasing just one seat and then discussing your seating needs with the customer service agent at the departure gate. And if it's determined that a second or even a third seat is needed, you'll be accommodated with a complimentary additional seat. So I don't even know how to, explain that. In other words, if you don't buy the extra ticket, if you go talk to the gate agent and tell them, hey, gee, am I too fat to fit in one seat? And then you discuss it and then they say, hey, you need two seats. Then they're going to give you a free seat and you don't actually have to buy it. Like, it's weird. But back in 2007 and, maybe right before this, when they originated with this whole customer of size idea, the issue, wasn't exactly worked out. And it was really, I think, mean, because it's not like the people that they necessarily were pulling aside were like people that were the size of like my 600-pound life or something. It just was completely, I think, subjective, but anyway, so I wanted to give some background on where Tyler Perry probably got this reference from, right? Because that was a thing. Prior to that, nobody was making a larger person buy an extra seat. If you sat next to a larger person, you just squeezed in and they squeezed in. And, maybe you were uncomfortable, depending upon, the situation. But unfortunately, that's the nature of air travel, right? There are lots of things on a airplane that can make you uncomfortable. It could be a crying baby. It could be, somebody who smokes weed and sits next to you and you don't want to smell that, or cigarettes, or somebody with loud cologne. I mean, there are just a lot of things that when you're in close quarters, that could make a person uncomfortable. But that's what happened in this.
Why don't they do like, those little cart things or whatever. I don't know what it is, like a basket, and then you put your bag in to see if your bag can fit, because they like it can fit under the seat or in the overhead compartment. Maybe they make people get in that and say, all right, you might have to pay for one seat or you pay for 2 seats.
They have a fake seat sitting there and you're just like, sit and see if you can squeeze your rump inside of this seat, and we'll determine if there's any spillage of your fat over the, over the side rails, and we'll decide if you need another seat.
Pretty
like
much.
I wouldn't even want to be in that position as the agent to try to make that determination. It's not right. But I'm sure there'll be some people in the comments who are like, yeah, but I shouldn't have to be uncomfortable when I paid for my seat. I could see that point too, but
Yeah, but the problem is the airline,
yeah.
not the other passengers most of the time.
And how they implement it, like there just needs to be some level of
They need bigger seats and more leg room and everything, and you need to be able to put your seat back. It's like they just don't care. And it's the airlines, and they have you beefing with other humans.
Yeah, like I haven't ridden Southwest Airlines in decades. Part of the reason I didn't like them is because of the whole, back when it was like a cattle call and you didn't get the assigned seats. But, now that you can, I guess they get assigned seats, or you can pay, they have it where you can pay for everything. Oh, I want to pay for a, guaranteed or assigned seat. I can pay for the big seats. But, with Spirit, that for a while when they had those seats for $25 that were at the front that were just like the 2 seats, that was really nice. $50 for a round trip and you could be comfortable, wasn't a bad trade-off. So anyway, Mike is fine to just let her, drive by herself in 2007.
You must be Sheriff Jackson.
Troy, please call me Troy. Hey, I'm Terry.
The other character that we're now introduced to is Sheriff Troy. He owns the cabin that the couples are going to be at for their retreat, and we first see and meet Sheriff Troy when he's introduced to Terry and Diane when they come up when they first are there.
Well, everything's all set up for you.
So he seems like a nice guy who is, the sheriff.
Yeah, he's controlling the cabin and stuff, and he's like, hey, we got some firewood, but it's going to be a rough one tonight, and you might want to chop some more.
Plenty of wood for you already chopped up out back, but we're expecting a huge snowstorm tonight, so you may want to chop some more.
But the vibe that they have, like the way they're looking at each other, like Troy and the couple, it's like, is this going to be a scary movie?
I thought there were more of you.
Oh, there are. They're going to be here within the next few hours.
Oh, good. Then they'll beat the storm.
Yeah, like as soon as the night falls, it's going to be like, donut, donut, donut.
Yeah, just how they were looking like, bro, what's going on?
Need anything? Appreciate the house, man. Thank you. I'll be at the sheriff's station down the mountain.
Yes. And then shortly after that, oh my goodness, we hear the gospel music playing. It's upbeat gospel music, but it is Sheila trying to drive across many states to get to Colorado. And, you hear that she's left a voicemail for Mike. So presumably their flight should have landed, but Mike's phone is going straight to voicemail. He probably got it blocked.
Hey, Mike. I'll get there as soon as I can. Miss you, baby. I love you.
The phone is going straight to voicemail, and she's like, hope you had a wonderful flight. I'll see you there. I mean, just
Bruh, why do you hope that dude had a wonderful flight?
Ain't no way.
I hope the plane went down.
Ain't no way.
What?
We see Sheila driving, and she just pulls over, and we get this beautiful view of this mountain. But it actually looks quite scary to be trying to drive up this mountain with all of the ice and the snow and everything. And the music has changed now. It's no longer upbeat. It's reminiscent of kind of the old Negro spiritual music where they're humming and
well, that's the evolution.
It is. It really is. I mean, so I'm not saying it's not connected. But the thing is that Sheila looks at that mountain, and this mountain is like symbolic of the mountain that she's going to have to climb in order to get things right. Sheila says, I'm going up this mountain to save my marriage.
But I'm going up this mountain to save my marriage.
God, make it all right. Jesus, make it all right. So this is the first clue that we get that Sheila recognizes things ain't all together, even though her attitude is very pleasant and upbeat when she interacts. Like she knows things ain't right.
You are the ruler of all things. Jesus, make it all right.
Mike shows up with Trina, and they're arriving in their cab and everything. and the guys are outside. And so they're walking up and they're like, that's Mike, but that ain't Sheila.
Is that Mike? Yeah, but that ain't Sheila either.
Everybody's trying to figure out, like, what in the heck is going on? Who is this chick in the rabbit coat that has walked up with Mike, you know? It's crazy because it's clearly so awkward that, you know, you could cut the tension with a knife. And in our video about Marcus and Angela, we talked about how the guys really didn't say much, except Marcus was kind of like, you know, what's up, Mike? Like, what's going on? Let us know what the situation is here.
Hey, Mike, what's up?
When the women come in, they just basically cut to the chase, like, who is you? Why are you here? And where is Sheila?
They did. No.
You think so?
No. It was like, and then old girl was like, who is this?
Who is this?
I'm Trina. I'm a friend of Mike and Sheila's.
Diane was like, beneath her breath, kinda, where's Sheila?
Yo, where is Sheila?
But they said it. They said it.
Yeah, they did, but they didn't just come right out and be like, hey, bro, where's Sheila? You know, maybe it was, hey, we're so stunned. What?
Yeah, because you're totally not expecting it at all.
It's a friend of Sheila. Once she found out there was a bedroom, she invited someone up here.
Sheila invited Trina when she found out that there was an extra bedroom. You guys cool with that?
And is it okay? Like, wait, what?
Which is weird.
You do that before.
Yeah.
Before the person show up.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean, is it okay? You don't come on the scene asking me, is something okay after you already did it?
Yeah. Especially when the sheriff Troy Jackson done said that, hey, it's going to be a heavy storm. Like, better hurry up and get that cab and get on out of here before that storm come in.
You know.
But see, when you know, you kind of under obligation now that the person is here. Like, we at least got to have this tramp here over the night.
Well, and that's the funny thing to me is just that that's what people are doing when they don't, you know, the whole saying about, you know, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, right? So I'm going to do what I want to do, but then I want to pretend like I'm asking your permission, but I'm asking it at a point where there's nothing you can do about what I did. Like in this situation, we done brought
Sheila.
this third party, unexpected, and and then who does that for a couples retreat? This is not a vacation. This is a couples retreat. It was so weird.
What did they usually do? They do this every year or every so often?
Yeah, every year.
And she's like, hey, maybe it's some guys up there. You know, y'all just be chilling together the whole time.
I don't know what Sheila was thinking. Ladies, like, for real, if you were Sheila, you got trouble in your marriage, you need to be paying attention to all the sessions that are being had about your marriage if you're trying to save it. And you got the nerve to be bringing a friend and worried about, you know, all that's going on with her. And Sheila was nice and kind, but let me just say, I think it also was a situation where Sheila was minding other people's business more than her own, or she was, you know, giving of other people's situations. You're too concerned about what's going on out there. Even if it's out of kindness and goodness, you're too concerned about everybody else, and you are not taking care of what's happening at home. Charity starts at home.
And go to the comments. Let me know, if you were Trina, what would you do? Would you have showed up like, hey, can I stay here? And I don't intend on meeting a guy or anything.
Mm-hmm. What Trina did if you were Trina, if you was that type of woman.
You just show up and say, hey, I'm here, y'all. There's an extra room. Ain't no single men. I don't care about them because I already told Sheila I don't care about none of that. It's a couples retreat. I'm here.
What? You did what?
Look, I wasn't paying for another seat for her big ass. Y'all know she fat as hell.
So then as the conversation progresses and Mike is answering the question of, you know, where is Sheila? He's like, we flew, you know, I wasn't buying another ticket. You know, she's fat as hell and all of these crazy things.
Where is Sheila?
Oh, I made her drive. We flew.
And Patricia's like, Mike, do you even hear yourself? And to me, the answer to that question is like, no. Mike has no shame. He completely lacks empathy. I'm sure some of you will, you know, and have already labeled Mike as a narcissist and all of that. You know, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not going to diagnose him. But I would say that he completely lacks empathy. And the fact that he has no shame in it says that in his mind, he doesn't see anything wrong with it. he feels completely justified, like what he did was right. You know how when a person thinks that they're wrong about something, then, you know, they might not want to admit it, but he freely admits it. He boldly proclaims that, you know, he and this, his wife's friend in air quotes, have decided they were fine with allowing Sheila to drive alone all of those miles in order to come because, you know, of the customer of size policy. Everybody should have got off that flight.
You let Sheila drive up here alone?
Do you have any idea how long that drive is?
So they was talking about, oh, you let her drive or whatever. No, he made her drive, like he said. So they just arrived here. In the scenes before, we saw Sheila driving, and she crossed so many states and made it to Colorado by the time they showed up to the cabin. So she must have been driving pretty fast. She was speeding down that highway.
I mean, yeah, and I don't know where they were flying from. But, you know, I would presume maybe the flight, let's just say the flight is a couple of hours, and maybe let's say her drive is 10, 12 hours.
Kansas, Missouri, and all the way to Colorado.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, I would say if the flight was a couple, 2, 3, 4 hours, you know, she really made some good time.
She was, because they showed her actually in St. Louis. They showed the arch. And then, then she went through Kansas and bruh.
Yeah, I mean, let's just say on the short end, the flight could have been, I mean, the drive might have been, let's say 8 to 10 hours. If that was the case, man, she made some good time. She had the pedal to the metal.
Exactly. She got to Colorado before they made it to the cabin.
But let's talk about Mike and some of the things we can read into his attitude about his obligations to Sheila as his wife. You know, at this point, you know, one of the things that ideally a husband is supposed to do is to be a protector. And it's like he not only, as we will later find out, would due to his relationship with Trina, but, you know, he had betrayed her in that way. But he also did not feel the need to even be a protector, because what protector would let her go off and drive this long distance by herself with just zero concern for her?
Maybe you should call her and tell her to get a flight tomorrow.
Look, she is fine. Okay, drop it.
So it's like, not only did he seem to not love her anymore, it's like he doesn't even care about her the way you'd care about just a regular person. You know, if anybody you knew said they were about to just drive up some icy mountain or whatever, no care and no concern for the weather or anything like that. Like, you don't even care about her as much as you care about, or as much as you would care about just a regular stranger that you would meet off the street, which I think is sad. But the other thing that happens in the scene, as they're all about to go in, there's this situation where Mike picks up his own bag. He doesn't pick up Trina's bag, which leaves Marcus to try to pick up Trina's bag because he's trying to be a gentleman. And then Angela like slaps the bag out.
I don't know, but I'm starving. She can carry it.
Mike, as you pointed out in the last video, really dropped the ball here. You know, you're not even a like, forget about romantic relationships, which he did have with Trina at this point, you know, but like, shouldn't you carry her bag? Yeah.
Wait, what? She's the side piece, right? And maybe he's acting as if he's not, but is he required to be the one to get the bag?
Yes. So the thing is,
well, why him?
Because she came with him. She came with him, and it shouldn't be some other man to do it. But forget about their relationship. What I'm saying is, let's just say everything was on the up and up, and that what we know is going on between them isn't what's going on. Because, I mean, it's
and
insinuated.
Then it's not required for him, because if Sheila is there, does Mike carry both of their bags?
Yeah.
No.
Well, so if Sheila's there, Mike would attempt to carry both of their bags, and then the guys would help Mike get the bags from Mike, traditionally. Now, if everybody gonna carry their own bags and that's how you roll, then
I'm not talking
fine.
about carrying other bags. There's other men there, so he wouldn't.
Yeah, but the point is that would get distributed and worked out through Mike, right? Mike would be like, oh, give me your bags or whatever. And then he would be like, hey, fella, can you carry this bag? You know what I'm saying? Like, they would figure that out. But the idea, Mike like goes ahead of her, which is weird to begin with, you know, because you just, like, Mike is just, he ain't got no home training, you know, to begin with. And so that's what I'm saying. So he didn't get Trina's bag, which created this awkward situation for another couple that's there.
And if she's such a good friend, why is she here with Mike, and why didn't she drive up here with Sheila?
So the women are in the kitchen, and Trina is out there with the men, and they basically call Sheila to see if, where she was. Ain't no answer, so they don't know where Sheila is. And then they're like, if she's such good friends with Sheila, how come she didn't drive there with her? Because that's what we would have done. And then, the great doctor, Patricia, is like, maybe we should just wait before we pass too much judgment on her and see what's going on.
Let's find out what's going on and make sure we don't pass too much judgment on her.
Like, what? That don't make sense. You know what happened. You just said it. She showed up with with her friend's husband when she is driving up there. So he allowed her to, drive up there. And then a friend is just like, yeah, I'm going to just fly with your husband. And then it's like, let's not pass too much judgment on her.
I'm passing all types of judgment in that situation. Like, and you're over there and then you're sniffing around like all the men at this point. But there is a flip side to that, because when we talked about this in the Marcus and Angela video, you asked me the question as to whether or not, wouldn't the women naturally want to go and be with the women or, kind of be, in the group of women. And I said, a woman who is respectable would. Apparently that upset one of our commenters. And the commenter quoted me as saying, a woman who is respectable would, huh? I'm a respectable woman and I don't get along with every B. Dudes are just easier to be around, period. And I don't want to F them either. Doesn't mean we don't deserve to be respected.
Okay, so the side chick showed up with a married man and then she's hanging around the men, and that person wants to be considered respectful and means that she's not smashing everybody.
Yes.
You know who this? She's here with the woman's husband, but we are respectable.
Well, okay, so I think that
just a portion of her being in a thing.
I think the commenter was confused, because I don't think the commenter is saying that she would be in the situation with another woman's husband. She's just saying that women who hang around men are not respectable.
But what she did say was that I don't get along with every B.
Yeah.
But you have to be around them to know if you get along with them. That's why you go there.
And you
in
go
the kitchen with them.
Yeah. And so, my response
a respectable woman would go into the kitchen and talk to them first.
Yes. And so my response to her was that respectable behavior, is based on culture and the norms within that culture. And that was the frame of reference when I made that original statement about a respectable woman, because what we all think is respectable is clearly not the same, because there are people out there doing stuff that I look at and I'd be like, So every culture and subculture has the rules of respectability.
Yeah.
And so the point here is that Trina was in a place where she was skirting those rules of respectability as deemed by the class and the culture of the company that she was around. And so I would, while I would agree that dudes might be easier to be around or to deal with, and, I said, I know this because some of the comments that I read from men and women are generally very different when they have an issue with something that I've said. And I understand that the expectations of decorum and how it would be perceived if I just sat up there flirting and batting my eyes with a bunch of women's husbands like Trina was doing in this situation, whether she intended to F them or not. But in this case, we're talking about Trina, a woman who we later find out, but we highly suspect even at this point that something ain't sniffing right. She ain't passing the sniff test, and she's over there with all of these men. So that's the point. That's where I was coming from when I said that. And women would be expected to hang with women at gatherings like this, where the genders have kind of split off from one another. And, that's how it rolls. In the culture that I come from, that would be the expectation. But I will say, I will add that as a person, everybody deserves to be respected as the baseline. But the perceived behavior and potential disrespect is going to play into how much of a side eye that I'm giving you. So Trina was not respectable for a number of different reasons in my book. And that's that, but that's the explanation. If you think Trina's respectable, that's your business. And that's fine. We all get to decide, what we think is respectable and not. I'm not going to dictate that to you. Let me just jump in here and let you guys know that if you are not a member on axiom.app, Patreon, or on YouTube, you are missing out on over 100 exclusive members-only videos, plus other perks like early access to some videos, your name listed as a contributor in videos, and more. So join today for as little as $5 a month, and it's a great way to support the channel. The links are in the description.
Something that'll uplift me. That'll make me want to drive off this bridge.
So it's getting dark and Sheila is still driving up this mountain.
She's driving and then she like, I need to listen to some music that's upbeat, something that'll uplift me, not make me want to drive off this bridge. Like, wait, what? What's going on with you, Sheila? But it's very sad. That's what's going on in this movie with Sheila.
Well,
everybody is having a good time. You have Trina over there with the boys, just kicking her legs out, smiling and laughing, being all respectable. And then you have Sheila over here who's struggling to get up this mountain and even make it, right? Because I guess so what they messed up with those signs was she's driving for a really long time and it's getting late now, you know?
Yeah, and she's tired, you know, she's trying to keep herself awake. She's trying to keep her spirits upbeat. And, you know, the unspoken thing is what may have led to her gaining of weight over these last months or however long it took that, you know, that she gained weight might be the depression.
What does the gaining weight have to do with anything? Because so from the perspective of Mike, I've been trying to tell her for months to lose some weight, right? But some people just lucky, right? You just happen to be somebody who don't gain weight the same way as other people.
That's true,
or
too.
you've never been that size, right? She could have always been bigger and he just always been lucky enough to not be big, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy to be like, why don't you just lose some weight? Like, how much weight have you lost? You know what I mean?
Right. And I would agree with that. I think that is the perspective for a lot of people. And then some people who do have the drive, right? That the reason that they don't gain weight is because they have this drive that they're in the gym, that they're watching their weight constantly and everything. There was another comment that someone made in a question that, you know, we asked about why did I get married? And it was from a guy who says that y'all bugging. That man was tired of her because she got comfortable and stopped caring about her appearance. Notice once again, after the relationship was done, then she want to pop out. And that's the reason when the attraction came back. He married that woman for a reason. And as time went on, she got comfortable until he catered to her, until he couldn't no more. He became brutally honest and she wouldn't listen.
Okay. So when she started looking different, then he got back. He wanted to get back with her because he married her for a reason. A reason was a look. This is this. So like before, you know, it's, some people, you know, have this drive to, you know, go to the gym or do whatever. It's a weird obsession with vanity and looks is what it is.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. And if that's your values, that's just your values. But yeah.
But understand that that's your value.
Yeah.
That is
and
your
then,
shallowness. Yeah.
And then, okay, let's say she did have a problem, right? And okay, she agrees and she's like, I should look a certain way. And then for the man to treat her the way that he did, you're trash. And if you agree with that, you absolutely fucking scum. Like,
yeah. You know, and the commenter goes on to say, you know, and she wouldn't listen. And basically after Mike was brutally honest. The thing is, Mike knew the beauty she was capable of. She just refused to give it. The other guy seen the potential and wanted to see. One man is forced to lower his standards while she exceeds the other man's standards.
first,
right?
that didn't even make sense because you said the other man sees the potential. So
Sheriff Troy saw the potential and was like, okay, let me give this a try. But Mike was forced to lower his standards, or that's what people wanted because they're saying that Mike was wrong for how he did her.
Yeah, but what was the last part of that comment?
One man is forced to lower his standards while she exceeds the other standards.
Yeah, so how does she exceed the other guy's standard if he sees the so-called potential?
Well, because she she lost weight, right, in the end of the movie.
Yeah, so that ain't exceeding standards. If his standard is the same as Mike's, your logic ain't logicking.
Well, and I appreciate it because I didn't even answer back to this person because I was just like, okay, I haven't got the time. And I knew I had confidence that somebody was going to eat him up in the comments. And I was right. Although they
really
were very
come
nice.
down to is basic luck, like, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you probably been skinny your whole life and you just like, It's these certain looks that people after. You know, just like people who are born with a whole bunch of money be like, why don't you just pull yourself up by the bootstraps? You ain't trying hard enough.
Yeah. And a commenter said back to him, don't be one of those men that my mom told me to stay away from. Even Tyler Perry, who wrote the character, knows that what you're saying is flawed. You never emotionally abuse your wife because of appearances. And, and we see that.
Like, but he did much worse.
Yeah.
So if there was a problem and he's like, oh, she ain't listening. All right, I'm done with this relationship. I'm getting with another woman. But that ain't what happened. So it really shows the commenter's morals and what type of person they are. You still won't even confront what you claim is an actual issue. You just behind the back getting with a friend and stuff.
Right.
Because she so-called didn't listen.
Right.
You're not being a man, even though I don't believe in that whole definition of a man, but you're not being a man.
Yeah. And I think it's cowardice also, because you didn't decide, hey, I'm ready to move on. I'm going to do this, right? You just decided you wanted to torture her. And I do think that that's part of it, right? Oh, okay, you're too fat and I don't want to look at you and you're fat. So therefore I'm going to punish you by mistreating you, which was totally wrong. Totally wrong.
But yeah, that's ridiculous. It's just about, a lot of that just has to do with vanity and with, just vanity.
And what you'll realize if you're on the younger end, if you're on the older end, you already realize it. What you realize is that what you might have looked like at 20 and 19, snap back and all of this and that, eventually, if you're lucky enough to live a long life, it's all going to drop. It ain't going to be in the place it used to be. People will gain weight. Some people might not gain weight. People will get sick. They, have all sorts of things go on. And when you say, you make a promise to somebody for better, for worse, and it's based on something like as shallow as just simply a physical appearance, like that's crazy. Because, the question is, would Sheila be leaving Mike when his jank stops working? When he starts having trouble and needs some Viagra, is Sheila going to leave him? Probably not. But, he's caught up in some shallow stuff. But,
Yeah, but, it'd be the same ones who are like, oh, yeah, but when I was doing all this, when times were good, but now that my money went down and we struggling a little bit, she acting up or want to leave. Same exact thing. But, it's just ridiculous.
And what the hell are those two over there whispering and giggling about?
You got Mike and Trina over there kind of kikiing together. And Angela points out that, what are y'all over there laughing and giggling or whatever about? And it is inappropriate because, they clearly look like an actual couple. Like, forget Sheila. They look like they're there for their, why did I get married marriage retreat?
Bruh, they might as well just rope them into it too. But why is she just like, oh, girl, Patricia, it's like, hey, we're going to go to the kitchen and cook. Come on, Trina.
Trina, we were gonna get dinner started. Why don't you join us?
Trina, it's like, nah, I'm just going to stay and hang with the boys. I'm no good in the kitchen.
I am so not a woman for the kitchen. I'm gonna stay and hang with the boys.
Right, back to the whole respectability, right, of I just want to hang with the boys. They were being very nice. It ain't, oh, you just don't get along with them. They was trying to invite you over. Yeah, and say, hey, we about to cook. And she just want to be like, no, I'm praying.
Yeah, she's
right
like,
now.
I'm not a woman for the kitchen. And so
I'm a woman for the streets.
I'm a woman. Yeah, I'm for them streets. But I'm not a woman for the kitchen. But then the other thing I'm thinking is that Mike should have noted this, right? Because again, he's trying to compare, all the things that are great about Trina against all the things that he hates about his wife, right? And that's part of the unfair thing about if you are stepping out on your spouse is that, or whoever it is that you're comparing the most positive things about this new person with the worst traits or your, grievances with the other person. And it's not a fair, comparison.
Yeah. So, they kind of speak about that with the 80-20 foolishness.
But it's really not a comparison. And it's but yeah, Trina is just a mess.
Don't blame me because y'all can't handle your women. You know you're wrong, right?
So the guys stay outside and they start to talk about what's going on with Mike and Sheila. And Mike is just being Mike, talking about don't blame me because y'all can't handle your women. And he's just, I don't know, this scene just serves to further make digs at Sheila, right?
And to make you hate Mike more.
Yeah. And then he admits that, he's smashing Trina.
Mhm.
But we already knew this.
Who is this girl?
She's sexy, ain't she? Are you hitting that?
But I guess he just wanted them to know for sure, hey, yeah, I'm really doing it.
Say nothing.
And you bring up, whoa, you bring up in here, man.
So the question that I have, and maybe guys in the comments and you, Heit, can answer this question. Was it inappropriate for him to admit that this is his, side chick or whatever? Y'all like the word mistress, but she's a side chick. That this is, that he's getting it on with Trina. Because is that something that you would speak about in a group of men like this, especially men who, at least two of them are not cheaters, right? We do know that Marcus, was getting with his baby mama and maybe other people. But as far as Terry and Gavin, they both confess that they've never cheated on their wives during the marriage. So do guys have discretion about this? Would you just openly admit that to a guy who that's their, I wouldn't.
It would be more not like Mike, right? You would probably be like, dang, I messed up, right? It'll be like a confessional sort of a thing, but this is ongoing, so it wouldn't be that. And he's just who he is, right? I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that it's a diverse friend group because you have Marcus, who is just basically like, whoa, for real?
Mike has been the man since college, boy.
So, hey, you got a mixed crowd. Some people like it, some people don't. So I guess it's just who they are. But are they all friends? We know that these couples go, but what are the actual attachments that brought them all together? Right? Is it that
College?
The women were friends in college, right? And then maybe some other people are friends. You know how this works.
Yeah.
We don't know if if everyone here is actually
or equally friends or somebody tighter than somebody else, and
or just how if just because all is this 4 couples in college does not mean that all of them are friends.
Well, and that might be one of the kind of unrealistic ways that, about how this friendship was portrayed. And then if we compare this to Waiting to Exhale, right? We did an entire breakdown on each of the characters within Waiting to Exhale. It was clear that they weren't all equally the same friends, even though they hung out together, right? That some of them had longer relationships, knew each other better, and some of them had newer friendships that were budding, things like that. And in this case, I get the feeling that it was kind of portrayed that they were all equal friends, right? I can trust Mike just as much as I can trust Gavin, just as much, and the same with the women. And I think that part might actually be somewhat unrealistic because naturally you're just going to be closer to some people than others.
Right. And I guess you kind of have gained a friendship over the years of, hey, we're doing this every year, but that doesn't mean outside of this that these guys are hanging out.
Right.
All the time.
Right. And the other thing I was thinking too, when I asked the question about, would a guy say hey, be proud that he's brought his mistress along and all that, but to me, I would liken it to, a woman who maybe a side chick. If you have a friend, there are friends that I've had for, decades and stuff. I'm not going to stop being their friend because they do something that I wouldn't do. Right. But at the same time, I think that friends know where other friends stand with regard to their value sets, and they either, they may not broach it in the same way.
You're going to share certain things with certain friends, and so some people you're not going to bring it up to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what type of friend they are.
Yeah.
It ain't this type of friend. Nobody's going to come up to me and be like, man, I just smoked this thing. Because I'm not going to respond to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to just be like, oh, okay.
Okay. But or the friend like Gloria, right? The talk about Waiting to Exhale. Gloria was the friend who, was kind of when she saw that Bernie was sleeping with the married man, she was like, did you sleep with him? And you know you're wrong, right? That was that type of friend. She wasn't gonna be like, girl, how was it? You know what I mean? That's just how it is. And you know, people are different. So I just wondered about that.
But like when Marcus had got back with Angela, and we talked about it in another video, he called Gavin, right?
Mm-hmm.
To talk about it. He didn't call Mike and was like, hey, Mike, this is what's going on.
True. You know who you need for what. But the question I have is this. What if Mike had approached this conversation with his friends and was like, hey, y'all, I messed up. Listen, Sheila was insisting upon bringing her friend Trina. And what Sheila doesn't know is that I've been kind of messing around with Trina. And now it's created this situation. I couldn't just be like, no, you couldn't bring your friend. You know, like that would have added an element to the situation that might have made you have a little more empathy for Mike's situation, maybe. But also,
they just had to make him a terrible
just outlandish.
character.
Yeah, like I just think it might have even been a little bit more realistic. Because how many guys are like Mike exactly? Like, is that a common personality where you'd be like, oh, yeah, have your wife drive across the country, sleep with your wife's best friend or close friend, and then bring her along with you? You know, I don't know. How many people are doing that out in the real world? Y'all let me know in the comments.
A lot now. They're very respectable.
Look, what your wife don't know won't hurt her.
So the guys continue on talking. And Mike espouses more about his philosophies in life. And he's talking about, you know, what your wife doesn't know won't hurt her. Talking about, you know, sleeping around. And ultimately, he asks, you know, Gavin and Terry whether or not they've slept around or stepped out on their wives in the 10-year marriage that they've had. And they say no. And he calls them gay.
10 years. Not once.
10 years, no.
And then he goes on to say, if your wife ain't giving you none, then you have the legal right to get some.
Look, if your wife ain't giving you none, you got the legal right to get some.
And what I think is weird about this is that there's almost the insinuation, even though they were talking about Terry's situation, it's almost this insinuation that that's why he is, you know, stepping out on Sheila with Trina.
I don't know about that one. I just think he's trying to give your boy an excuse, right? Because he seems to just be encouraging it. Not like, oh, this is just something I do. He's like, oh, y'all need to be doing this. And he's thinking that I represent every man, right? Because that's kind of how it is when you have these discussions online and everything. A lot of people, when they speak, they act as if they're speaking for their gender.
Mm-hmm. For the gender or their race or whatever. Yes.
They're like, as a man, let me tell you this.
Well, I would just say if the pitfalls of bad advice were a person, it would be Mike. Because he's giving bad advice, but he thinks he's giving good advice, which is oftentimes the case, right?
Well,
you know,
it's good for him because his wife ain't leaving, right? It's clear that he's been doing and saying all kind of crazy stuff and she doesn't leave. So he get to go around and do whatever. So it's not really bad advice. It probably won't work for these other people, right? So I guess in that sense it is. But it's true that you can do these things, right? In his situation. Yeah,
in his situation, it was true that he could, what his wife doesn't know won't hurt her, blah, blah, blah. But I disagree with that. I don't think that obviously she's hurt. She's aware. She maybe not about Trina, but she is aware that there are problems and he is hurting her by his behavior. You know, even if it's just the mean things that he says to her, it's horrible. You know, but he's just, he's a horrible person. And I have a really, really hard time believing it. Maybe this is a character flaw of mine, but like, it's hard for me to believe that there are people who could be this mean, which is why it makes the character seem so crazy. You know what I mean? Because like, how could a person be this mean? Although I will say that I've encountered maybe one or two people in my lifetime who appear to have been this mean. Maybe.
Sheila shows up at the police station. We have Sheriff Troy there.
Hi.
Hi.
And she's basically asking, where this place is.
I am looking for Lake Leland.
Oh, you're only about 5 miles away.
Sheriff Troy say basically you can't go up there.
It's up the mountain, but you're not going to get up there tonight.
I grew up in Detroit. I know how to drive in snow, okay?
Sheila responds, I grew up in Detroit. I know how to drive in the snow. No, you don't. You ain't driving in no mountains in Detroit.
Well, and it's good that he's told her this, because what you don't know is when you grow up in the Midwest, like I did in Chicago, and they have efficient ways of putting down salt and making sure that the place is shoveled, that the streets are shoveled, and that you can actually travel around in the snow. And you generally do know how to drive in the snow. But the thing about it is when you're in other places that might not do that type of clearing of the snow, if you're in the South, if it's ice and snow on the roads, you better stay off those roads because there's just no way to navigate them.
Yeah, and in like remote places and stuff.
Yeah, it's dangerous. But anyway,
she said she was going up. She was going up there to save her marriage, and this is a roadblock, like literally, because he said, "Hey, it's not just that; it's trees up there blocking the road, trees down."
If you are watching this video, chances are Tyler Perry has you hooked. Whether you love his films, love to hate them, or just can't resist them as a guilty pleasure. But here's what you might not know: we have already gone deep into Tyler Perry land. We've got entire playlists breaking down his stories, his characters, and all the drama you can't stop talking about. So don't miss out. Hit the description for links to the Ultimate Why Did I Get Married playlist and the Ultimate Tyler Perry playlist. And trust me, you're going to want to binge these and share them with your friends.
There's no way to get up there?
No. Sorry.
What you going to do? She going to get out and move a tree up?
She just might.
They're going to
try to drive around the tree.
She's trying to save her marriage. And, you know, I feel her in terms of, you know, her determination to try to make it right. But the problem is that it takes two. You can't save the marriage. He got to want to save the marriage too. And clearly Mike has checked out. And maybe she just hasn't come to an acceptance of that part at this point. But yeah, so, you know, but then it's like, you know, the first meeting of Sheila and Sheriff Troy. And it's like,
Listen, I can offer you a cell until morning. It's not much, but at least you'll be warm and dry.
Sheriff Troy offers to allow Sheila to sleep there in a cell until the morning, and he said that he'll take her up to the retreat.
Then in the morning, I'll take you up there myself, okay?
Okay.
Because he asked her, hey, are you with those couples up there at that retreat? And he said he'll take her up there himself in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get into this conversation of, you know, why is it a black man out here in the sticks? And he claims that he's an army brat and he was born there.
Came back when my dad got sick. That's actually his house you guys are renting.
But why would he be born there? Because he's an army brat. It looks very deserted. It don't look like no military people. You a sheriff there by yourself who's handling everything. Like, is there a base near that? Like, if there's a base near, then it's probably going to be a higher population.
Well, he says that house that they're staying in, it used to be his father's house until his father had passed away the previous year. And, you know, then there's this solemn moment. But prior to that, it was kind of like, you know, hey, I'm Troy and I'm Sheila. And they were getting to know each other in a respectful way, right? Not in this I'm overly flirtatious type of way. Just he was being nice to her. But what I think is interesting is that, yes, he's the sheriff and he's supposed to serve and protect and all that. But like he is protecting her from going up the mountain. He has provided her with a place to stay. He is already starting to do the things that a man who would possibly care about a woman would do. But that any, like, I don't know, that any man would do, I would feel like, you know, kind of like, I'm not going to let this woman go up here in this car, you know, up on the mountain like this. I'm going to, you know, and even if I like to believe, even if he wasn't the sheriff, that he would have still tried to, you know, intervene if she had stopped at his house and asked for directions. And you know what I mean? Like, you know that she's out here by herself and everything. But he does ask the question, like, why are you going to a couples retreat alone?
Tell me something. Why are you driving up to a couples retreat alone?
That's the question we all have, Sheila.
My husband had to go ahead.
Why didn't he come with you? I wouldn't want my wife out there traveling all by herself.
You know, we also find out that Sheriff Troy is divorced, but he, you know, probes though. He asked that question, like, you know, I wouldn't want my wife coming up this mountain alone. Like, what kind of husband you got that you out here by yourself going to a couples retreat? And that's, you know, I think that's a very valid question.
And then she just avoided his questions altogether.
He had to go ahead.
You married?
Divorced.
She's like, oh, he had to go ahead. And he's like, so what kind of a blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, so you married?
Yeah. Yeah, because now you're back on, you don't want to focus on your stuff. You want to find out because you're back on Trina, right? You're trying to look, you worried about Trina's business while your own life is falling apart. And you're like, oh, I could hook
Is that
Trina
what it
up
is?
with
I thought it was just because she was trying to avoid his probing question.
I think it
About
was
what
both.
kind of man just let his wife do this.
I think it was both, and so he admits that he's divorced and everything. But then after that, we see her start making these self-deprecating comments when he asked her, hey, you want to eat something? I got this family chili recipe or whatever. And she's like, don't I look hungry? And he's like, hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Don't I look hungry?
What's that supposed to mean?
And, you could see I'm a big girl. And he like, well, big girls got to eat too.
Come on, don't act like you don't see I'm a big girl, okay?
And it was just weird. And I think we've seen this before. We saw this with Gloria in Waiting to Exhale, where, women who have, who are larger or who, may be viewed as having a, quote, problem with their weight, will often lead with that so that it doesn't become an issue, it doesn't become ammunition for somebody to say later.
Does it happen in real life?
I don't know.
It just seemed to happen in movies and stuff.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like
I don't think I've ever heard it.
Yeah, and it's like I wouldn't say that. I mean, obviously, I'm not like a toothpick, so that's how my attitude would be about it. So I'm not gonna be like, I'm a big girl, so I'm nah. I'm not. I mean, the world can be cruel enough. I'm not getting ready to turn that on myself. But I'm not judging the people who do, because everybody does what they can to get through. But in this situation, she made those comments about herself, but he clearly seems interested. And what I think is so hilarious is that, and I believe this really is true, is that she doesn't see Sheriff Troy, right? She doesn't see him because she has a husband and that's who she's focused on. And I guess because in a world where a lot of people are like, oh, they are very interested and they see like all kind of men and women, right? They're like, oh, I may be married, but I got this attraction and all of that. But for some people, they see their partner and that's it. Other people, it's like once they're focused on their partner, that's who they see. Other people are not potential, partners, potential mates, potential anything. They're not even looking at them like, oh, you look good. Here's a handsome man, but she don't even see him like that. She's just like, whatever. She's married. And I think that the people who are constantly attracted to all these other people don't understand that there are actually people out there who are this way, who, Sheila cannot even see Sheriff Troy at this moment in the movie.
Now, while Sheila is sleeping in a jail cell over at Sheriff Troy's little station, Angela sees Mike creeping into Trina's room down the hall in the middle of the night.
While she's in the shower. Just trifling. Totally trifling. So there were some commenters because we had made the comment in the previous video about why didn't Angela say something? She just kind of closes the door and is kind of tucking this secret in her pocket. And some of the commenters said that she did the right thing because she needed to get all the goods and ensure that it happened. And if she stopped it from happening, then he could have weaseled his way out with an excuse that he was there for whatever reason. And that, it wouldn't be, quote, proof.
Well, only proof is probably video and stuff. And she still didn't get that. So it doesn't matter to me because if this is really your friend say your husband was tiptoeing down to the room and I stopped him before he went up in there, then to me that's enough. But I guess some people just, I don't know.
I saw him. He was in there up until 2 hours ago.
The women are in the kitchen cooking breakfast and stuff. The women except Trina, and can we call her a woman? But anyway, yes, the women besides Trina, Angela is telling them, hey, I saw this dude creeping down there. He went up into that room, y'all.
And she's like, I'm telling the first, as soon as Sheila gets here, I'm gonna let her know what's going on.
Yeah. And they're like, no, some people get angry. They don't want to know stuff like that.
Wait a minute.
Wait for what?
We don't know what kind of state of mind she's gonna.
I'm telling her.
No, that's right.
And Angela, it's like, if it was one of us, we would want to know, right?
And sometimes people get angry at you for telling them.
But then none of the other women said, hey, I wouldn't want to know. They was just like, man, she might not want to know.
Right.
They didn't say, don't tell me.
And, so at the same time, then we see all the guys come back in and they enter with Trina and they're like, where you been? So the women are in there cooking breakfast while Trina is out gallivanting. They claim that they hiked the trail.
Claim.
So where the hell y'all been?
We hiked the trail.
So what were they really doing out there? So we had Mike, right? Mike was like, hey, she's sexy, huh? Hey, I've been smashing.
Shut up.
And then the next morning, they all go away with her. Tyler Perry's a dirty dog.
So I'm not even going to say that. That ain't even a good fan theory because that just is nasty. That's nasty. And I don't want to put that on Gavin and Terry because we know Marcus would do it.
Exactly. But hey, if you're in the presence of Trina, you might never.
But but here's Trina again. You out with these men. You're just out with, you will never. And see, this is the thing, and kind of back to the commenter. And it's certainly not a slight to the commenter because I know that viewpoint represents, plenty of women who are like, I don't have female friends because they hard to get along with and blah, 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 blah. I'd rather be around the guys. But that is exacerbating your issues with women.
Do you get along with other women who only want to be around men?
No, because you're probably competing against them. Because see, part of here's the thing. I know that commenter says she doesn't want to F these guys, right? And you might not want to, but the reason that it's all so smooth is because with the guys rather than with the women is because you are, whether you're knowingly doing it or not, it's the dynamic of feminine wiles, right? It's the dynamic of being a woman around men.
The men probably ain't gonna press you about whatever you're doing with this guy or whatever you're doing to your friend.
Yeah.
Right? That's just not going to happen with you being the woman there.
Yeah. So,
but the other women might start asking all kind of questions and stuff too.
Well, and at the same time, like if you're that type of woman who wants to have you around their man, like just the same way as in the movie. The women were looking at it kind of like, she's pretty, I
think only Angela, the other one was.
Well, they agreed, right? Yeah, she's pretty, but and not from an intimidation perspective, but like that this could just be trouble. Because see, this is what I think some people don't understand too, is that bad things happen sometimes not because of the intention, like of the person in that moment. Like the person might not be actually plotting, but there are certain circumstances that make it easier for bad things to happen and better to avoid those things altogether than to get yourself caught up, in a situation that makes it hard for you to say no.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know the morals of the mistresses, but is it that the mistress just picks one? Because I would think like, hey, if she would get with Mike, then she would get with Gavin or she would get with Marcus or she would get with Terry too.
It depends on the mistress, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just not. There's probably levels to that too.
Yeah, it's not general morals of the mistresses.
So I really don't know. But if there is somebody who is a mistress, a side chick, who would like to represent that point of view, and I don't mean this in a dig way, but I would like to know, like, if you're the type that would sleep with married men, would you get with the friend of the married man too?
Yeah,
is it just that it's this one guy? Are you dealing with other men while you deal with this guy? Like I got questions.
It's very easy to just be like, oh, she's a side chick, so she's a hoe. So to speak,
and I do think generally that's probably wrong to suggest that a side chick is a quote hoe, because I don't think that's the case. I think that they're literally just the side chick, right? They could be a hoe, they could be not. Think about Robin from Waiting to Exhale. Now, she did have a couple partners in the movie. But would you call Robin a hoe? I wouldn't necessarily think of her as a hoe. She was interested. Yeah. Would you think of Robin as a hoe?
I think they kind of tried to portray her as that, but not in the negative connotation of the word of the 90s, right? Because it was about liberation. So she wouldn't be termed that, but she was somebody who would sleep around, I think.
Yeah,
So
that is
maybe
true.
that's not, maybe more like Savannah.
Yeah, so would you think of Savannah as a hoe, right? That's a better example. You're right. No, because Savannah wasn't around with a lot of guys, but she was with the one guy that she was hoping would leave his wife. So she's devoted, and then like that's the problem. You know, a lot of people listen to the whole, side chick conversations, and we're like, oh, it's because of some whatever reasons that we seem to have a problem. No, it's because of the fact that you're not even getting what you want, right? And the statistics suggest that you probably won't get what you want if what you want is for that man to leave his wife. And so that's kind of the deal. But no, Savannah wasn't a hoe. She just was a side chick.
Mm-hmm. And then it's really conversations about characters too. That's like, hey, this character did this. This is what is being shown, right? And then you take into consideration sometimes, the cultural norms and all of that stuff. If it wasn't traditional American type values, like you have Sheila here, where her religion is like a American Christian, some sort of Christian there. So you take in those things and then you're like, okay, based on what we know, this is the cultural context of the movie.
Right.
And then you discuss it in that manner. And you have side chicks, you have wives, you got, I don't know what you call the men.
You got hoe men.
You
got married men. You got faithful married men. You gotta, it's some of everything, right?
Yeah.
You have some who can't, I look at Marcus like he's straddling the fence, right? Potential to be a better man, wanting to be a better man, wanting to be with his wife, but also, having his personal failings, versus a Mike who is just all the way in the other, ball court. Mike is just out there. And then the other two guys appear to be, very faithful and very committed.
And if we were like discussing something like Big Love, then it would be talked
polygamy
about very differently.
Yeah. So that's it. And I mean, at the end of the day, we all have our moral compass, and they just may not be the same. When I'm giving my opinions, that's based on my moral compass. If your moral compass is different, it's just different.
Mike, have you called Sheila to make sure she's okay?
No.
Patricia asked Mike if he called Sheila to see if she's okay. And Mike is just with a blatant no. And then Trina want to butt in and tell me she's okay, she cool.
Sure, she's fine.
Trick, was anybody talking to you?
Trina should have just shut up. Nobody
and then
asked
she got
you nothing.
into it with Angela.
Slut, hoe, tramp. You don't know your name?
Mm-hmm. And then they just start, back and forth, ready to fight,
I will mop the floor with your behind.
And I think that Trina and Angela were kind of, I don't want to say cut from the same cloth, but like they were, we had this conversation about kind of class and, all of that. And that Trina and Angela, at first it was unclear what Trina's class might be, but the way she kind of came with that fight, made me think like, okay, Angela and Trina, have seen each other before.
I don't know about
They're
that.
types.
I don't see Trina like that.
I do, because she was like, come on in.
They was trying to show her, well, maybe
she was playing nice,
maybe it's a Tyler
right?
Perry thing, but they were showing her in a way that wasn't like she wasn't on that level with Angela.
Well, you can get by with a lot by just simply keeping your mouth shut and not saying a whole lot. But see, the fact that she didn't know the social norms, right? She didn't know that the women's supposed to be with the women.
Well, she did know. She just didn't want to be over there.
Well, and common sense would tell, well, then that means you're not really going along with the norms of your class, which would make me think that maybe she's not really in
well,
that
you
class.
still have people in the class who are just...
Who shirk the norms, yeah. But okay.
You have the Mikes and you have you have the Gavins and you have the Terrys and the Mikes possibly.
Okay, so a question that I have for the people in the comments is, do you think that they all were from the same social and economic class when they went to college? You know, did they all, you know, was somebody living in more meager means? Somebody had, you know, more money? You know, do you think that they were all from the same class? My answer is no.
Mine too, because I think like when it comes to black people, it's going to be different for white people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's probably going to be more along those lines. But when we get together and go to college, we just going to get mixed up because it's no other way.
It's some of everybody.
Yeah. And it depends on the schools they went to too, because maybe you could separate more at a HBCU, but if you're not at a HBCU, you're going to just, your people are going to be people from the different classes and probably still to a great extent.
But they all went to an
HBCUs.
HBCU. They all went to an HBCU, but the comment was made about Angela by one of the students, like, I can't believe that Dr. Patricia, that you actually know somebody like Angela, right? So clearly Angela, if nobody else, was probably not from maybe the same socioeconomic class. But I would suggest, and we can talk about this more later, y'all can say in the comments what you think, but I would suggest that possibly Sheila, Mike, Angela, and maybe Marcus, but Marcus was going to get elevated with his sports career, were not. I think that Patricia, Gavin, Terry, and Diane probably, you know, had parents who were professionals and had college educations prior to this.
I want to put Mike over there. I just want to.
I did put Mike over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the Mike, Angela.
No,
Mike,
not that. Mike with Terry and Diane and Patricia.
You want to put Mike with Terry,
Gavin.
Diane? Well, maybe. Mike seems very rough around the edges to me. Like he, you know, the fact that you didn't pick up those bags and stuff like that.
Yeah, but he's just a bad person.
Okay.
Right? Like
okay.
You got those types in different classes.
All
like,
right. That's true.
You know?
That's true.
It makes it even better because part of it is, hey, you got with this woman from a different class too.
Could be. Could be.
And then, as we'll see, Sheriff Troy is closer to a Sheila.
Somebody in the comments is probably like, why do we talk about class all the time? Why does it matter? And I think that when you're analyzing why people behave the way that they behave and what their behaviors mean, we have to look at that through the lens of the socioeconomic class, because that's the norms. That's what, you know, in one class to do a certain behavior may be viewed very differently than to do that in another class. And contrary to popular belief, there are numerous different strata of black folks.
Yeah, and we talk about racism all the time, but racism is just a result of class and classism and feudism and all of that stuff. So,
yeah.
You know.
It's important to acknowledge that, I think, when we talk about these characters. Hey, divas!
How are you?
Sheila comes in, Sheriff Troy drops her off, and she comes in, hey, divas! And the women didn't even greet her with that
the same energy.
With the same energy or nothing. And then she gives a hug to Patricia, and she's like, oh, I'm glad you're okay.
Thank God you're okay.
And she's trying to act all jovial and stuff. We know how she just was that night and stuff. So she's putting on a face.
Yeah, she's putting on a front. And then, you know, the reason that the energy in the room was off was because you got Angela and Mike at each other's throats and stuff because of how Mike has been acting. And then you got Angela and her dynamic with her own husband, you know, and everything like that. So you got, you know, a lot going on. You got Trina and Angela at each other's throats. And so all of this has happened before Sheila even walks in the room. But you're right about this idea of Sheila putting on her mask, if you will, her mask of I'm a happy, jovial person. And my thoughts on that are that this reminds me a little bit of toxic positivity, where people feel like it's a flex to say, no matter what's going on in my life, I'm always smiling and you never see me sad or you never, you know, and I just disagree with that approach to life. I think sometimes you're going to be happy, sometimes you're going to be sad, but to try to fake it in front like you're not is, you know.
And then be like, nobody ever checks on me or nobody cares about, but you're acting like everything's fine.
Yeah.
That's just one of the more unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
This man took really good care of me.
Yeah, well, at least some man did.
And then she hugs a couple of her friends, Sheila does. And then she goes, she's like, this nice man took care of me.
This is Sheriff Troy.
Then she goes over, this is Sheriff Troy.
Mm-hmm. And look at how he looks at her, like kind of, smiling a little bit and everything like that. But, her own husband don't even greet her right when she comes in. He don't even look at her. He just like, hey, how you doing? She got a better hug from Gavin than she did from her own husband when she arrived. You think Sheriff Troy was like aware of the dynamic?
No.
Or that he cared
Did she
at
even
all,
know which one was her husband?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question.
So, but then she wants to invite him to breakfast. Like she done invited this fifth wheel.
I invited him for breakfast. Is that all right?
She's inviting this guy, I guess, to create the sixth wheel, possibly. But come on, man, you just keep inviting people.
Next thing you know, Sheila is like, Trina, this is Troy. And I talked about you all last night.
Trina, that's Troy. I talked about you all last night. Girl, he is single.
Why she deliver that line like that?
So basically, I want to hook you up with Troy. And I'm just thinking, like, what was the night like for Troy? Because I think that as Sheila talked more and more, Troy probably was like, she seems like a nice lady.
He probably knew. He was like, wait, Trina's your friend and he went up there with your husband?
Everybody knew.
Bruh. But then the weirdest line is move over and let him sit down.
Yeah.
Trina, why don't you move over and let the man sit down?
Why would she move? If she could move to the seat next to her, then he can sit there, right? But I guess because he was next, I don't know. It just don't make sense. Because
that
she
was a
next to
weird
your husband,
thing.
or why wouldn't you tell the man to move so that the guy can sit down?
And boy, did Mike have an attitude about that. He was like, oh, because here we go again. This is my side chick and you trying to hook her up. She don't need to have no man,
He
basically.
say, this is mine.
Right. This is mine. She don't need to have no man distracting her from my needs. And, plus I think part of the pimp game on the side chick situation is that the guy can't be letting other people come along that are going to entice you more than him, and so he was jealous. He didn't like that. And then when they're talking about cooking, then he makes this snide remark about, oh yeah, everybody know about cooking, kind of,
You don't know nothing about cooking.
We all know you know about cooking, baby.
Again, a dig at her weight. And I think that was directly because of the fact that she was pushing Troy off on Trina. For those of you who have ever watched one of our deep dives and thought you should cover this movie next, Deep Dive on Demand is for you. With a sole executive producer credit, you can choose any movie you want for just a $75 contribution. You'll be the sole executive producer on that video. You're going to receive on-screen credit and get a shout out during the video. Looking for a lower cost option? Our co-executive producer credits start at just $10. Simply choose a film from our select list and you'll receive on-screen credit and a shout out alongside the other co-executive producers for that video. We also have a couple of limited time bundles available to you. You can get 3 co-executive producer credits for just $25, which is a $30 value. Or our biggest bundle yet, 1 sole executive producer credit for the movie of your choice, plus 3 co-executive producer credits for just $75. And that's a $105 value. This is a great way to support the channel while helping us to decide what movies we're going to cover next. So you'll find links to all of these options in the description. Thanks, and let's get back to the video. Finally, Terry asks, I saw people on snowmobiles, where we get that. And
Right. We saw some people on like snowmobiles or something. Where did we get those?
Troy was like, oh, that's easy. And then Trina jumps in. Nobody was asking her nothing. But she jumps in. Oh, I'm not worried about no snowmobiles. I want to shop.
I'm not worried about snowboarding. I want to shop.
And then Mike starts coughing. So again, Trina's values are clear. Trina ain't about to be cooking. Trina wants to spend some money and go shopping. And
she want Troy to spend the money.
I don't know if that was the insinuation
because
here.
you're gonna go shopping with the women. But first she was like, I'm just hanging with the boys.
Now I want to shop. But Mike, I guess Mike is, maybe Mike gave her some pocket change just like he gave Sheila on the plane, a few dollars in her pocket or whatever.
But so he totally controls the money?
Mike?
Because don't they work together?
Who?
Sheila and...
I don't think Sheila works outside the home.
Oh, I thought she was a work friend. From the first scene, she was talking about...
She said they're working you at your job too much. So
oh,
I don't
she
think
said your job.
Yeah, or at the job too much. So again, she's just, talking about Sheila's situation. About Trina's situation.
Trina might have some pocket change there.
Trina might have a little bit of pocket change, but maybe not that long money like she want to get from Mike. But Mike is coughing like, oh, money. I don't want to spend no money.
Now that is gorgeous, Sheila. It would take 2 of those to fit half of my behind.
So then when the ladies go shopping, we see that Trina makes a suggestion in the window of some outfit. And then Sheila's response is like, oh, it would take 2 of those to fit me. And, I'm like, okay, what kind? Well, we already know what kind of friend Trina is.
Yeah, but what did Trina do wrong in that moment?
Trina just
suggest that she wear something.
Go to hell is what.
All
Trina
right,
needs.
yeah, but what you call it? Sheila kind of getting on my nerves with that.
I'm too big for everything.
Yeah, God.
Well,
dang.
she was getting on Sheriff Troy nerves with it later too, as we gonna see. But yeah, I in this moment, I just feel like what Trina did wrong was like stay out of it. Don't be trying to give her something to make her feel better when you're in her mix like that.
Right. I guess because she said, Mike would like to see you in this, basically.
Let me tell y'all, this was years ago, but I had this one friend, and she had confided in me that she, was messing around with this guy who was married. And she came in because of the situation. The guy worked in a situation that she would come in contact with him. And then his wife began to also work in that situation. And then she had become friends with the wife. And she was just like, upset with me because I was like, you're talking. Okay, first of all, it's bad enough of what you're doing. But second of all, now you're trying to befriend the wife. She was like, but she's so nice. And, I was like, you are sleeping with this woman's husband. Like what part of this don't you understand? But that was a bone of contention between the two of us because, I was like, your common sense should tell you not to, but everybody's common sense ain't gonna tell them that. People got different moral compasses. It's just as simple as that. And she felt like this lady was nice and she was gonna be nice. Like, but wouldn't it be rolling through the back of your mind at all times that you're sleeping with this person's husband? Like, how can you ever be friends with that person? Like, damn. Anyway, that was just a sidebar discussion of a real life moment where, I'm aware that people do this stuff, but I don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm going to pray for y'all.
Oh, no, honey. We need to talk about you and Mike.
So the next thing we see is Sheila confronting Angie, and she's just like, I'm gonna pray for you and Marcus and stuff like that. So now your situation is in shambles, but you over here telling, Angela, you gonna pray for her. When because you already said you coming up this mountain to save your marriage. Your state of things. You need to be praying for yourself and stay up out of other people's business. And stay out of other people's business,
Mike is not so bad. I just need to lose some weight and it'll get better for us.
And then in the conversation, Angela comes back at her like, basically that she doesn't like Trina. And then it gets kind of heated between the two of them because she's like, why are you being so mean to Trina?
Why do you have to be so mean to her?
And you don't even know her and stuff. And Angela's like, look, no, you don't know her and everything. And
you don't even know her.
No, you don't know her.
Again, Angela is kind of at the end of her rope with Trina and really wants to tell Sheila what is happening between Trina and Mike. But, the other ladies have up to this point prevented that.
And they're still preventing it, right?
All right, Sheila, honey, look, I got to tell you something.
Angela.
So in this scene, Trina comes in the way, right? So when Angela's about to tell her, Trina pops up like, oh, Mike would love you in this, right?
Sheila, look at what I found in your size, girl. Girl, Mike is gonna love you in this. Isn't this hot?
All the while, Sheila is talking about how I just need to lose some weight.
I'm trying to lose weight. Sometimes he looks at me like I disgust him.
And it'll get better for us. And I'm trying to lose weight because sometimes he looks at me like I disgust him. And then just conveniently, Trina pops up, right, when Angela's about to tell her. And then after all of this, they're like, no, don't tell her, Angela. Let her just live in ignorance, basically.
But Trina is so out of bounds. She's like, Mike would love you in this. Oh, okay, wait a minute. What would you know about what my husband would love me in or anybody else in? And I mean, we understand in the movie that she knows because she's sleeping with him. But just the audacity.
Well, they done talked about this, right? So she's acting like she's being helpful.
What woman, like under what circumstances, even if she wasn't sleeping with Mike, under what circumstances would what Trina said be acceptable?
So she's talking about what she just said, right? That sometimes you look at me with disgust. I need to lose some weight. We're having problems, right? Because this is her friend who she confides in. So now they're out and she's acting like she's trying to help her, I guess, her intimacy with her husband by suggesting that if she buy this, then this could help it.
Well, and then help me to understand and we'll go to the comments. Help me to understand the side chick perspective on this. Is Trina actually sincere in this moment? Tell me the truth. Is Trina sincere in the comments? Is she really trying to, quote, help? Or what is the deal? Or are you just really just trying to, send Sheila off, basically? Because if you're interested in him, trying to be with him, then why would you be trying to make their relationship better? Like, I totally don't understand this logic at all. Somebody please help me with that.
Mm-hmm. Sheila snaps off at Angela and talking about why do you so mean to her? You don't even know her, right? Angela snapped back. No, you don't know her because Angela knows some stuff. And I think that Sheila does know her. She probably knows what's going on, or she should know. And then, they prevent Angela from telling. And when they walk away, the great doctor is like, no, she's not ready.
She's not ready.
Oh, yeah.
You can say that again.
So she is making these unilateral decisions for the entire group and what they gonna do. And basically, because I'm a doctor and I'm an expert in relationships somehow, I basically telling everyone how they should handle their friendships. Because even earlier in the scene where they were sitting around the campfire, I guess you could call it, the fire pit or whatever, it's, or the patio. Hey, last time we talked about this and this is the thing that needs to be done.
This is what I taught you. I'm sick of Patricia. And I will have to talk about it more in Patricia and Gavin's story, but this is why I am so annoyed by Patricia.
Patricia, you don't get to decide if she's ready.
But yeah, I mean, and so it has caused this sort of rift between Angela and Sheila because of Trina, and her presence in the situation.
It's because of Trina and the other friends. Because the other friends just don't want to tell her. And the other friends, like, some people get angry and this and that. And the doctor, Patricia, it's like, no, she not ready. Like, come on.
Making excuses.
Yeah. And Angela just want to let her know that, hey, this is what you have in your mind is a complete lie because this dude ain't even with you on this vacation. And this ain't your friend who is here acting like your friend in your face. But the friends, the supposed friends, are like, nah, just let this happen like it is.
Well, I have a question that you brought up. You mentioned that, Sheila already knows kind of like what's going on or that you think that she may know. Does Sheila really know about Mike and Trina and what's going on between them, or is she completely blindsided by that? We're going to table that until we get to that scene, but that's a question that I have that we should really discuss.
Hey.
The hell are you going on?
So in the next scene, we see Sheila come in a very nice and modest night gown and robe set. Looks very pretty and complimentary to her figure. And first thing Mike says is, what the hell you got on? And so she comes over, sits on the side of the bed, and is like, Trina said you might like it.
Trina said you might like it.
And then he literally laughs in her face.
Trina lied.
And while he's laughing in her face, she's telling him, I want us to work.
Mike, I want us to work.
I love you. I've always loved you.
I love you. I've always loved you.
What do I have to do to make it work?
What do I have to do to make it work?
And then he continues with his cruelness, and he's like, well, first thing you can do is lose about 50 pounds, and then I might be attracted to you and whatever like that. But
You can lose about 50 pounds. Then I might be somewhat attracted to you.
cut off the light. And, so any idea that she had of being able to
save her marriage.
Yeah, is just smashed. It's totally smashed. I mean,
Look like the cow that jumped over the moon.
and just, this is like one of the saddest scenes in the movie.
With the whole she's not ready and all of that stuff, and some people don't want to know which is worse. Just if before this she found out what's going on, or this dude continuing to treat her like this.
Yeah, I just feel like somebody could have pulled her to the side and said, hey, listen, this is hard to hear and this ain't the most opportune time, but we found out he's been sleeping with Trina, and it didn't have to happen the way we're about to see come up. But there's the point where you just got to rip the Band-Aid off.
But when she told him that Trina said that he would like it, he said, Trina set you up. You need to smack Trina. And
Trina set you up. You need to smack Trina.
you don't have to apply that to this specific situation. Because this is your friend who wanted to come spend time with your husband on y'all couples retreat.
That should have been your clue. She set you up. So that's one answer, one possible answer to the question I had. Was Trina being sincere, or was Trina setting her up? Go to the comments. Was Trina setting her up? Was Mike right about this? Or, is he just, his mouth is flippant? We know Trina's not her real friend, of course. But the point is, was she actually setting her up in this moment? I just think it's just incredibly sad. And then she just lays in the bed and is just looking so hurt and, everything like that. And they're laying back to back. Mike is just there. She's just there. And I don't even know how she went to sleep that. How are you in the same room with this guy? How?
Oh, you just said that he was good. Okay, there's no need to tell Dr.
Listen.
So Marcus has this issue going on with his groin area, and we have the doctor who set him up with some medicine, some medication or whatever. And he's like, you cool, don't mess with your wife for about a week. Mike is basically like, man, don't tell her, bruh. He's like, Doc just said that you're cool, so don't tell her. And that's just more of your guy's character.
Yes. And it's actually crazy to me that, so many people in the comments even, and in a poll that we did, would advocate that basically it was fine what happened between them, that neither of them wanted to tell each other. And especially once we find out, that Angela is the one who was burning first, and that she actually didn't tell Marcus. So this is Marcus discussing whether he's going to tell Angela, but what we know is that Angela was the one burned and chose not to tell Marcus. So both of them decided they wouldn't tell the other one. And it's just crazy to me. And there were people who justified. Now, the majority of people had their heads right on straight to understand that that is just wrong all the way around. But there were some people who felt like Angela was justified in not telling him so that she could find out whether or not he was cheating with the baby mama. Just nuts. But this whole idea of not telling speaks to Mike's philosophy, his life philosophy. How is he living? He obviously is sleeping with somebody behind his wife's back, and he don't care how she feels about it. And he's cool with it.
I keep trying to tell your brothers about the 80-20 rule.
The what?
The 80-20 rule.
We have Gavin, who talks about the 80-20 rule.
In most cases, in marriage, you're only going to get 80% of what you need. That's it. No more, no less.
He say, when you're married, you're going to get 80%. No more, no less.
Now, 20% looks real good when you ain't getting it.
He says that you see this other woman, she got 20% and you ain't getting it, so it's going to look good. And he looked directly at Mike when he says that.
But the problem is you're going to leave 80 thinking you're getting something better, and you end up with 20.
And he's basically like, don't do it because you're going to leave, this 80% for this 20. And Mike just basically says, man, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Marcus?
So here's somebody giving you some life wisdom and you reject it because you just can't see it in that moment, right? And it's foreshadowing. It's telling you the clues are there. Trina say she don't cook. Trina say she's about to try to shop. You should listen.
Yeah. But what he's wrong about is the 80% part.
That you're going to get 80% of what you need?
You just gonna get 80. No more, no less. It's just always 80.
Yeah. I mean, to even try to quantify that is sort of weird. But I mean, the spirit of the idea that, nothing is going to be 100% and there could be people offering the percentage that you feel you're missing.
Like, hey, you're going to get over 50%, but that's not sure too. You might be getting 30% and then something comes along with 70.
Well, and then sometimes, listen, there could be times where, times in the marriage where you're getting 20% and then sometimes where you're getting 100%, sometimes where you're getting 80%. Sometimes, like it's going to fluctuate, especially over like marriages that last, years and years and even decades long. Like it's not always going to be up, but it's also not always going to be down either. Yeah.
So Troy may be offering 80% and Sheila is getting 20 with Mike.
Mm-hmm.
But she don't see that. She don't see that 80. She see that 20 as 80.
Yeah, that's a whole nother thing. She really does. Because it took basically for Mike to quit her.
Wow. They were married for 45. Okay.
So they're sitting around at dinner and Sheila makes a toast to love.
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 Then we have some little banter going on with Troy. He's like, oh, Trina, you dropped your napkin. He's trying to, little flirt with her and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Dropped your napkin.
Oh, Mom, thank you.
Welcome.
And then they get into, how this place is beautiful and stuff. And they like, and Troy says, yeah, I'll show y'all around sometime.
I'd love to show you guys around before you leave.
Thanks, but I can't do that.
But the whole time Mike is trying to antagonize him and stuff. And then he gets into, oh, you the big sheriff around here, right?
You're the big time sheriff in this town, right?
I wouldn't exactly say big time.
And then he asks, how much a gig like that pay? It can't be too much.
So tell me, how much a gig like that pay, huh? Can't be too much, that's all.
But aren't they vacationing at his spot?
Mm-hmm.
Like
this nice cabin you're in, he owned. You know what I'm saying? But you trying to shoot, act like he doesn't have anything.
On a vacation, you go to something that he owns. That says something. He clearly has something that you desire.
Well, and then, like you said, he's trying to just, point out that he doesn't make a lot of money because I think has picked up that Trina wants money. So he's trying to say, let Trina know this dude is broke. He ain't gonna be able to. He ain't gonna be able to let you shop like you want to shop, Trina. But Sheriff Troy says, I don't do it for the money or whatever.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I don't do it for the money.
I think that just shows that a lot of people's values, not just Mike, because in that moment in 2007 and in these types of movies, he's representing a certain type of person, people who value money above all else, right? And now it's even a lot more like, I would say, probably 95% of people just place the most important thing in the world as money.
Yeah, and say that your value as a human is based on how much money you have as well.
Yeah, and your level of respect is based on how much you're worth, or your worth as a person is based on your monetary worth, right? Your
I saw a
financial
meme
worth.
the other day that said, I'm not finna argue with somebody who brings home $300 and something every 2 weeks.
Yeah, well.
Why am I going back and forth?
I don't know.
You?
I don't know why somebody would want to talk to you, right? Because if money is the value, then that's just who you are, right?
Yeah.
And to try to say that other people who don't value that is less than is something totally out there.
It's not even the type of thing you could convince a person of. Like when they lead with stuff like that, like I already know who you are. When you say stuff like that, or if everything out of your mouth is about, quote, get the bag culture,
we can't really
how much
even
money you make, and
have
that.
a discussion. We can't talk like about anything because your core values are just so off.
compared to mine.
Yeah.
And so, but another thing to point out too that was said in this scene is that Troy's parents have been married 45 years before his father had passed away. And so I'm like, is Troy's mother still alive? Is she still, I don't know, but just the thought that I had. But what I think that's also trying to say is that Troy comes from an example of what I would say is like the stability of marriage. We don't know what quality of marriage that his parents had, but we know that they managed to be together 45 years without killing each other.
We don't know if the mama killed him.
Shut up. Which is something that they at this table all seem to admire, right? This long relationship. And they're questioning whether any of their relationships could last that long. But
everybody except Mike and Trina
mm-hmm.
admired it.
But I do also think that that's the thing it says about Troy is that probably he would want to emulate that when he gets with a woman.
Yeah.
Whatever. No, snowmobile. I can do that. We'll race or something.
What's so funny?
Mike is very jealous of Troy and Trina. They're kind of being flirtatious over there. And then you have Angela basically pushing the issue, right?
Mike, can you please let these single people have a private moment?
I agree.
And she's basically like, hey, maybe y'all two should go out after this for a drive or whatever.
Maybe after dinner you two could go for a ride or something.
Mike gets really mad and he's like, no, she can't do that.
Trina ain't going nowhere with him.
And Sheila asks, oh, wait, what? Why not? And Angela says, yeah, why not?
Why not?
Yeah, Mike, why can't this single woman go out with this single man?
So it's coming to the point where it's going to have to come out because, like, dude, you're really showing yourself. Before, it was just that, hey, this is kind of on a hush and hush. And now he's like, nah, I don't want her to go do anything, I need to assert myself as the man in her life.
Yeah. And, what's funny is it's almost like a mimicking of the scene. Remember earlier when Trina was standing there and they were talking, Trina was talking to Mike and they're all kikiing and flirting away kind of from the group. And Angela's like, what's so funny over there? What are y'all kikiing about? Right. And then we see Mike do kind of the same thing at the table when he sees Sheriff Troy and Trina giggling in each other's face. Right. And Sheriff Troy was really all up in her face. He was smiling and, looking at her and stuff, which is kind of, like, wow, he really was like, all right, I'm turning my attentions to her. And Mike is so freaking jealous. But what I also pick up on, too, is that he's like, I'm going to assert myself as the man. But at the same time, he tells Marcus, get your wife.
Marcus, get your wife.
Come on, baby, give me that drink.
And I'm just like, oh, man, this whole get your wife, control your woman attitude that Mike has is just very freaking antiquated.
I don't know if that's what it actually, it kind of means that, but it doesn't, right? Because if a man is arguing with another man's wife, how does that look too? Right?
Yeah, okay. I hear you.
So you kind of got to be like,
but
hey.
he'd been arguing with Angela the whole time.
Yeah. Exactly.
But now it's get your wife. He'd been, acting like a little bee, arguing with Angela the whole freaking time. But now get your wife,
Yeah, because it's come to the point where it's about to come out.
So Mike can tell us why Trina can't go with Troy.
So then it just comes out and Angela tells it all.
Okay. Let's do it.
And it's like, hey, the reason that these single people can't go out together is because she's sleeping with your husband.
The reason she can't go with this man or any other man is because she's sleeping with yours, Sheila.
And Trina had, Sheila's just like, what?
What?
And Trina got a dumb face on. And then Troy is trying to make his exit. He's like, all right, y'all, I just think I just need to get on up out of here.
Well, you all, thanks for dinner, but I should be going.
And then we have Terry with a little light in the mood, like, no, I think we're going to need you because he's the sheriff.
Mm-hmm. We're going to need some law enforcement around these parts after this all breaks out.
I think you need to stay, man. We're going to need some law enforcement around here.
But in this moment, Sheila looks very shocked and surprised and caught off guard.
No. Yeah, Sheila.
You know, back
Yeah.
to the question of, does Sheila already know about Mike and Trina? I tend to say no. She knows things are very wrong in her marriage.
Okay? No, let him talk. I may be a little drunk, but somebody at this table got some damn secrets.
I don't know
But
if she
I
knows
don't
exactly,
know.
but if you do, then it's that it hasn't just been blatantly put out there, right? So you can be in denial.
Look,
of
if I
it.
suspected, I'm not certainly having her on my trip to, be the
Well,
marriage retreat trip.
She is very naive. She's doing it to keep her husband happy, right?
That's
Because she was
crazy.
like, Trina said this. She know that he how he feels about Trina, right? Because why would she be like, Trina said this? Or if Trina said it, because she knows what he desires. But
Oh.
yeah, so that happened. And then she asked, is it true?
Yeah, it's true.
And Mike didn't deny it at all. He just said, yes, it's true. That's my secret. I'm the bad guy.
That's my secret. I'm the bad guy.
But then he tries to deflect and say, I ain't the only one with a secret at this table.
No, I'm not the only married person with a secret at this table.
But yes, you are the bad guy.
But he says, I'm the bad guy, like, as
As
if
if he's
he's
not.
not the bad guy. And like, for sympathy, make me the bad guy. I'm the bad guy. Yeah, you are. You are. You are totally the bad guy. You and Trina are the bad people.
You put my secret out there. Let's put everybody's secret on the table, shall we?
Basically, what Mike does is he goes tit for tat. His secret has been outed, and then he proceeds to tell everybody's secrets at the table that he's aware of.
Have you told your wife how you got a DNA test on your daughter because you weren't sure that she was yours?
He hurts people
Yeah.
who really did nothing to him at all.
Have you told your husband that you got your tubes tied after you had Kenya?
But that don't seem like him, right? He was pretty straightforward about everything except that. And then he didn't just embrace it and be like, yeah, I am. It was like, oh, you told this thing that I definitely really care about being out, because I think it wouldn't have been that big of an issue because we see how much she's already taken. So it's kind of just don't make sense for him as a character to just, all right, now let me just tell everybody stuff. When the dudes already knew, right?
Asking, how could she be so stupid and not strap your son in his car seat?
Because you told them.
Secretive, like he is his creed is secrecy, right?
Yeah.
And so this is like contrary to his character. So, but maybe he had a meltdown in this moment, right?
Tell this woman how Terry had to give you a shot because you had VD.
Maybe he felt justified and pushed this way. But okay, as a man with his man creed or man code, like the fact that you went and you outed all the dudes is crazy. Like I can understand outing Angela, and by proxy, you're going to out Marcus. But like to go all into these other people's stuff, he was like, oh, and since you got something to say, and it was when the women interceded, then he told the men's secrets and the women's secrets, right?
Yeah, but it was mostly just the men, right? It was,
He told a
except that
secret
Diane.
from everybody. He told a secret from everybody.
Everybody or every couple.
Every individual. Well,
right? Because the only thing was Diane got her tubes tied.
Oh yeah, okay. So Diane got her tubes
got a shot,
tied.
right? That's on the man.
Yeah.
Who else is
and
at
then
the table?
crying about the
Gavin,
baby not
yeah.
being latched in. Gavin.
Yeah. So see, that's
Yeah. So he told one secret from every couple, but like, dang, bro. You are just like you're willing to betray entire friendships.
Yeah, and then he act like he cared. Before he was on the way he talked to Sheila on the plane, the way he talked to her in the bedroom when she came in there. Then he's like, "I'm sorry you had to hear this like this."
I'm sorry you had to hear this way. Take your friend over there.
And then he say, "Baby, go pack us up to Trina."
Let's cut this trip short. Baby, go pack us up. We out of here.
Well, something that I have seen though before is that people who act like they don't care a lot of times and to treat people any old kind of way, where the rubber meets the road, you come to find out that they really did care, or they claim to have cared. They just didn't act like it, or they were just so self-centered that they just, it was all about me, right? But when something happens or they get left, then there's this confession. that, oh, I'm losing everything that I had. Well, you didn't act like you cared if you lost it. Mike did not act like he cared. And even in this moment, he's really not acting like he cared. It's more, I think, about his ego. But anyway, he pulls up to have a one-on-one with Sheila, let her know what's up, because he's like, oh, yeah, hey, baby, talking about Trina. He's like, yeah, pack our things, baby. So like Trina is now, she just slides into the, I'm his main woman spot. Again,
that was real quick.
Statistically speaking, never happens or rarely happens. But in this movie, it happens. And now he's sitting down to tell Sheila what the deal is.
It's over. I'll be more than fair, but I want a divorce.
He's telling her, first thing he says is, it's over.
You can have the rental property.
And he just is laying down. So clearly he's thought about it. You can have the rental property. I'm going to have Paco put bars on it.
I have Paco put bars on it for you, so don't thank me or nothing. It's a rough neighborhood.
So it's a bad neighborhood. So I'm going to move you from wherever you live now, which is nice and safe, to this bad neighborhood. Don't forget, I'm doing you a favor. You ain't got to thank me or nothing, he says. You can have your car. I'll figure everything else out. And whatnot. She is just like in a trance, in a daze. And, he even snaps his finger in front of her face because she's not responding to him.
Whatever.
And then he's like, all right, well, whatever. And then she just turned and busts a bottle right over his head.
Oh, I hope he's dead.
And the bottle broke pretty easily, and he was just left unconscious.
Yep. And she walks out the door. And then you hear the old Negro spiritual hum. There's some things that we should talk about now, because this is a great place for us to stop, because really this is the end of Mike and Sheila. It is not the end of the story, but it is the end of Mike and Sheila. And part 2 of this is really going to be Sheila and Sheriff Troy's story. But, we'll talk about that in the next video. But for now, let's talk about these questions that we have. Do you think that Sheila really knew about Mike and Trina already? I just say no, because she just, what is this reaction to then? Is it the embarrassment?
It's the embarrassment. But like I say, you could be in denial until it's just put up on a fucking platter like that. But yeah, I don't think that she would have known, because it probably was, hey, this is just my friend. But once they went together on a plane like that, then you should know. Oh, he made you drive, and then your friend stayed on a plane to go on this trip.
Yeah.
Without you.
But he tells her it's over. So after all this abuse, after everything that Sheila has endured, Mike is the one, after being pressed with this whole situation, that when his secret comes out, he's like, it's over. So my question is, would Sheila have ever left Mike? Do you think? Go to the comments. Do you think Sheila would have ever left Mike on her own?
No, I don't think so. That's why none of this makes sense to just how he told on everybody, right? I just think that if this don't come out, it just continue as it is, and maybe he would have just been open about, yeah, I'm doing whatever with Trina.
Sheila and Trina would have been sister wives. Because I agree. I don't think that Sheila would have left him. With everything that was exposed, no matter how he was talking to her, I really do not think she would have left. Like, I don't know what it would have taken. I don't think this was enough for her to actually leave him. She walks out now because he told her it was over, and she's now coming to that realization. But if he had turned to her and said, listen, if he turned to her and was like, listen, this is going to be my girlfriend. You still my wife. You still get to live at the house. You still get to have everything you have. But I'm going to have this side chick, this my mistress, or whatever he wants to label her as. I think Trina would have been looking crazy. I think Sheila would have been looking crazy, but I don't think she would have left. I don't think she would have left. They'd have been sitting up there like sister wives. Now, I don't know if they could have been friends beyond this, but like the way Sheila's mind was set up in that moment, I don't know. I don't think she would have left Mike. And Mike knew that all along. It's back to what you said earlier. Mike knew that. That's why he was just acting so foul. If they don't think that if the person doesn't think you'll do anything in response to their mistreatment, and I'm not saying they as in men, I'm saying anybody in your life. If the person is mistreating you and they don't think you're going to do anything, then that's part of their calculus as to the things that they're willing to do to mistreat you.
Yeah.
If they thought you'd do something, they might actually not, refrain from some of the stuff that they do.
There was like no real reason for him to be secretive like that, per se, right?
Because he didn't care
really
about if
care
other people
about
knew.
that secret. Yeah.
He didn't
that
care if other people
was
knew.
not enough for him to just go on off the deep end like he did
Mm-hmm.
to end this relationship. But it makes for, good salacious movie.
Yeah, it definitely makes for a good Tyler Perry movie.
Yeah.
But in this moment, Sheriff Troy was there. He witnessed it all. My question is, do you think Troy in this moment was like, all right, maybe I do got a chance with Sheila?
Bruh.
Or is he like, I just want to get out of
No,
here?
because these people aren't from here. They're just vacationing and people come and go and they're going to leave, right?
Yeah. And
So-
she's leaving in his mind. So
Yeah.
So next, be sure to go ahead and watch our breakdown of what happens with Sheila and Troy in the next video that's linked in the description.
If you made it this far, type "Where's Sheila" in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to visit axiom.app where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place with links to them back on YouTube so that you can watch them here.